Our next speaker is Alex Newman, president of Liberty Sentinel Media, an award-winning international journalist, educator, author, speaker, investor, and radio TV show host, and author of Indoctrinating Our Children to Death. And he will speak about protecting sovereignty for our children's future.
Thank you so much. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Reggie. Thank you, Christine Anderson. What a wonderful, wonderful panel here. What a great opportunity to share the truth, and very grateful for the opportunity to be here. Folks, as we saw during COVID, these public health emergencies can be among the most powerful pretexts for stealing our rights, rights that our forefathers, as the Honorable Christine Anderson just said, literally fought and died for. Rights that here in America, our forefathers said it came from God himself and could never be infringed upon by governments that they said were established to protect those rights. We lost freedoms that we didn't even think of as freedoms prior to the pandemic. The right to work, the right to visit our family, the right to go to church, the right to go shopping. All of these came under threat. And if they can take those rights from us, there is nothing they can do. There is no boundary that they cannot cross. And as such, we can never allow this to happen again. The international health regulations and the pandemic agreement, so-called, they show us that the goals of this organization are absolutely nefarious. If these globalists are not stopped, the WHO will end up serving as an all-powerful ministry of health that will make the COVID tyranny that we just lived through look like child's play by comparison. And no matter what aspect of the WHO's agenda you look at, it is lawlessness and it is evil. And we need to understand that this is evil. This is not misguided. This is not a mistake. This was not a difference in policy opinions. This was evil. And we need to speak out in those terms, I think, loudly and clearly. If you look at the One Health agenda that Reggie alluded to, this is an effort to subordinate not just your individual rights, but even your health to nebulous claims of environmental progress and animal health. It is paganism and pantheism and collectivism all mixed into a horrific ideology that targets not just your health and your freedom, but even the most essential elements of your humanity itself. If you look at the WHO's so-called mental health agenda, which we see so clearly now infecting public schools around the world, it seeks to weaponize this entire field as a weapon against dissidents, like we saw in the Soviet Union. Essentially, if you don't agree with their global tyranny, you must be crazy and you must be drugged. If you look at the WHO's so-called misinformation and disinformation agenda, this is an effort not just to regulate what you can say, but even to regulate the information that you have the ability to access. How can you possibly make good decisions about your health and the health of your family if you cannot freely access information? If you look at the WHO's agenda to sexualize our children through what they very misleadingly refer to as education, this is really an effort to break down morality. It's an effort to break down the family. And the goal, as it has been from the very start of these agendas, is to atomize the individual, alienate him or her from those who love him or her the most, like parents, and then allow our would-be overlords to impose their degenerate and totalitarian values on our posterity. The UN is literally indoctrinating our children as we speak to see the UN and its agencies like the WHO as the last best hope for mankind. If you look at their vaccine agenda, seeks to forcibly seize control of our bodies and the bodies of our children while shoveling endless taxpayer-funded profits into big pharmaceutical companies. And how could we forget the WHO-backed neonatal tetanus vaccine campaign in Kenya that injected untold numbers of girls with vaccines contaminated with beta-HCG, thereby rendering them infertile? And folks, this is just at the superficial level. Once you start digging deeper, you look into the mRNA technologies, the CRISPR gene modification programs, the World Economic Forum's fourth industrial revolution, you'll see that it's not just our faith, our families, and our freedom that are in the crosshairs of these tyrants, but even our humanity itself. We need to understand that the WHO is a tool of tyrants. They're targeting our children even more viciously than they targeted us. And while there are various interests who pull the strings at the WHO, the Chinese Communist Party, Big Pharma, Western globalists, and depopulation zealots like Bill Gates, they're all united in their belief that they ought to be ruling over us, and public health is the perfect excuse. It's not enough for us to continually play defense and fight back against each and every WHO program or power grab. It is time to permanently neutralize this threat by having key governments, including the government of the United States, withdraw once and for all. We have a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to do this right now, and if we in the United States act and lead with boldness, others will follow us. Trump's efforts on this front are to be commended so far, but we need much more than that. I've spoken with several members of Congress recently. They told me that they're working now on the next big, beautiful bill. And regardless about our feelings about everything in these giant pieces of legislation, I believe we must insist, at a bare minimum, that Congress permanently enshrine our departure from the WHO and other tyrannical agencies into federal law. That way, the next deep state Democrat puppet who ends up in the White House cannot simply reverse it with a stroke of a pen as Joe Biden did. Folks, everything is on the line. We must not fail. Our children are depending on us. With God's help, we can and we will succeed. Thank you guys, and God bless you.
Thank you so very much, Alex Newman. Awesome as always. And following up just a little bit on what Alex said, I completely agree that we need legislation to make the withdrawal from the World Health Organization permanent. And I would point people to the antiglobalist.net website where we've got action items, also Sovereignty Coalition. You can actually take action if you're American to alert your legislators that you believe that it is important for there to be legislation to make Trump's executive order withdrawing from the World Health Organization permanent.